The baby's cries echoed through the cold fluorescent aisles of the supermarket. They weren't loud enough to draw every shopper's attention, but loud enough to pierce the heart of anyone who stopped long enough to listen. Emma swayed her cart gently, whispering soothing words to her 6-month-old daughter, Lily, tucked in the faded car seat perched at the front. Her eyes, heavy with exhaustion, darted between 2 cans of baby formula. One was the cheaper, generic brand. The other, the one she knew Lily tolerated better, was almost double the price. Emma's fingers lingered on the more expensive can. She closed her eyes, remembering the last time she had to feed Lily with the cheaper formula and how her baby's stomach cramped for hours after. Tears threatened to spill, but she forced them back. She couldn't afford to break down here, in the middle of aisle 9. With trembling hands, Emma placed the expensive formula into her cart. But when she reached the register and watched the numbers climb with every beep of the scanner, reality hit her harder than she'd braced for. Rent was due in 3 days. Her electricity bill was already past due. She dug through her worn-out wallet, counted her crumpled bills twice, and then, with a heart that felt like it might split in 2, she whispered to the cashier. "I'm sorry, I'll put this one back." She slid the expensive baby formula off the counter and forced a smile as if it didn't matter, as if she wasn't sacrificing her child's comfort. The cashier gave her a pitying look, but said nothing. Emma paid for the small bag of groceries she could afford, adjusted Lily's blanket, and left the store. What Emma didn't know was that someone had been watching. James Carter stood in the next line over, waiting for his items to be bagged. To the casual eye, he was just another man in a sharp coat, but to the world, he was known as a real estate mogul, a self-made millionaire with a fortune that newspapers liked to remind people had tripled in the last decade. James was used to seeing numbers, profits, losses, investments. But what he'd just witnessed wasn't a number. It was a raw, human struggle, right in front of him. The sight of the young mother putting back the formula replayed in his mind like a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. Something in his chest stirred, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Compassion. He quickly finished at the register, grabbed his bag, and followed. Outside, Emma was strapping Lily into her car seat when James approached. He hesitated, unsure how to start. He didn't want to scare her or come across as intrusive. Finally, he cleared his throat softly. "Excuse me, ma'am." Emma stiffened and turned around, her eyes wary. "Yes." James offered a small smile. "I couldn't help but notice back there, you had to put back the formula. Look, I know this might sound strange, but I'd like to buy it for you." Emma blinked, her pride instantly flaring. "That's kind of you, but no, I can't accept that." "We'll manage." James shook his head gently. "It's not charity. Think of it as a neighbor lending a hand. Please, let me do this." Emma hesitated. She looked at Lily, who whimpered softly in her seat, then back at James. The sincerity in his eyes disarmed her. With a reluctant nod, she whispered, "Okay." James gave her a reassuring smile. "Wait here." He dashed back inside, bought not 1, but 3 cans of the formula, along with some diapers and baby wipes. When he returned, Emma's mouth fell open. "I can't take all of this," she protested. "You can," James said firmly. "And you will. I've been where you are, believe it or not." Emma frowned, confused. This man clearly looked wealthy. His coat alone probably cost more than her month's rent. "You?" she asked, doubtful. James chuckled softly. "Yes, my mother was a single mom too. There were days she went without meals just so I could eat. I never forgot what that felt like." Emma's eyes softened, and for a brief moment, the walls she carried around her heart lowered. Over the next few days, James found himself unable to stop thinking about Emma and Lily. Most people in his world obsessed over stock prices and high-end dinners, but his mind kept wandering back to that moment at the grocery store. Finally, he decided to check in on her. He returned to the same store at the same time of day, hoping to see her again. And he did. This time, she was browsing the discount produce aisle, carefully examining bruised apples to see which ones might still be good for Lily's future baby food. James approached with a cautious smile. Emma, right, her eyes widened. You remembered, of course. Look, I don't want to intrude, but I was wondering, would you let me take you and Lily out for lunch? Just to talk, no strings. Emma hesitated again. Trust wasn't something she gave easily, but something about James's tone, gentle, respectful, made her nod. All right, just lunch. At the diner, Emma shared her story. She had once been a nursing student with big dreams, but life had unraveled when her boyfriend left after finding out she was pregnant. With no family to fall back on, she worked part-time jobs to make ends meet, but the bills always seemed heavier than her paycheck. She'd been juggling survival and motherhood every day since. James listened intently, his heart aching with every detail. He told her about his own past, how his father had abandoned his family, how his mother had worked 3 jobs, and how a single act of kindness from a stranger years ago had set him on a better path. That's why I wanted to help you, he explained. Because someone once did the same for me. Tears welled in Emma's eyes, though she blinked them away quickly. She wasn't used to being seen, truly seen. As weeks passed, James continued to check in. Sometimes he dropped off groceries, other times he slipped an envelope with rent money under her door, though he never made her feel indebted. Slowly, Emma began to trust him. She even allowed him to babysit Lily once while she went to a job interview. But it wasn't all easy. Emma struggled with pride, often wrestling with the fear that accepting James's help made her weak. And James, for all his wealth, struggled with his own demons, loneliness, and the gnawing guilt that perhaps he hadn't done enough with the blessings life had given him. One night, after Emma received yet another rejection letter from a nursing program due to her financial situation, she broke down. I can't keep doing this, she sobbed. No matter how hard I try, it's never enough. James gently took her hand. Emma, you are enough. You're strong, you're brave, and you don't have to do this alone. For the first time, Emma let herself believe those words. Months passed, and with James's encouragement, Emma reapplied to nursing school, this time with financial support from a scholarship James quietly funded under Lily's name. When she received her acceptance letter, she cried tears of joy. Her journey was far from over, school would be demanding, bills would still come, but she no longer faced it alone. She had hope. Years later, Emma stood on a stage in her graduation gown, holding her nursing degree. Lily, now a lively little girl, cheered from the front row. And sitting beside her, clapping the loudest, was James. When Emma's name was called, she walked across the stage, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. She caught James's eyes in the crowd, and in that moment, she understood something profound. His kindness hadn't just put food on the table. It had restored her faith in humanity, given her the courage to rise again, and reminded her that even in the darkest times, light can find its way in. After the ceremony, she hugged James tightly. You didn't just change my life. You changed Lily's too. We'll never forget this. James smiled, tears glistening in his eyes. All I did was follow a mother who loved her child enough to put everything else aside. The rest, you did yourself. Message for the audience. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can ripple farther than we'll ever know. A millionaire may have bought baby formula, but what he truly gave was hope, dignity, and a chance for a brighter future. And for Emma, what began as a moment of despair in a grocery aisle became the first chapter in a story of resilience, courage, and the unshakable power of love.